The simplicity of the gospel.
Welcome to the simplicity of the gospel. This is brought to you by the Pegwell Community Church of Christ Church in Barbados. And wherever you are, whatever platform you're watching us or listening to us, welcome. We are glad to have you on this Father's Day. There's so many things happening in the world. And people are discouraged and despondent. People are dismayed and afraid. People are dissatisfied. People are anxious. All sorts of things are happening. You just have to read the newspaper. People are having mental problems, all because of the pandemic. In some cases, there's a loss of income. There are family challenges that have shown themselves more so within the last 2 years. Children are having problems. Like I said, mental issues. Crime is on the increase. War on the increase. We only hear about one major war, but there are lots of wars that are going on. There's a disruption in the food chain. Even our government said that you're going to soon have to decide whether you're going to buy food or whether you're going to buy medication. They tell me that food prices, I saw it in the paper last week, the food prices are up by 20%. And they're having problems in the school. We're having our problems here too, not as big as you're having in America and other places, but they're major problems all over the world. Problems with water. Man, and if you think it is bad now, the Bible said that perilous times, there's a 1 Timothy. The Bible said that perilous times are going to come. And that word perilous means hard, harsh, difficult. If you think that things are hard and harsh and difficult today, I don't know. I'm just feeling so sorry for my grandchildren. They've got to be raised in this kind of atmosphere. And God did not intend it to be like this. We didn't have to have food shortages. We didn't have to have problems with housing. The Lord said, don't get children before you get married. And there are more children on the earth today out of wedlock. And when these mouths got to come and eat all the food, and you got to find housing for them and social welfare and all kind of stuff. You can understand why. Because we chose to disobey God. This morning, I'm going to tell you basically that we need somebody, not the Antichrist, he's going to do it in his time, but we need somebody now to come on the scene, whether it's globally or whether it's nationally or even in your own house, because your house might be like Animal Farm. Nothing is working well. We need a father figure to stand up. People say lots of things about fatherhood. Anyone who tells you fatherhood is the greatest thing that can happen to you, they really understand. Somebody said a father is more than 100 school teachers. And lots of other things were said about fathers. I have some here which I don't have the time to draw to your attention. But there's some fathers who came on the scene many years ago. And in difficult times, they were able to rally their followers. Take, for example, Abraham Lincoln. He was an American lawyer, a statesman. He served as the 16th president of the United States of America from 1861 until 1865 when he was assassinated. How did he impact the nation at that time when they really needed a voice? We will learn later on that he made a speech called the Gettysburg Address. It was only 271 words. You see, we have a saying that says empty vessels make most noise. See those people that talk nonstop, they're empty-headed, but they're just trying to convince you that they know. In 271 words, this man was able to rally people. The Gettysburg Address is a speech that this Abraham Lincoln delivered during the American Civil War at the dedication of the Soldiers' National Cemetery in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. It is one of the best known speeches of American history. Lincoln's carefully crafted message, and this was not even the main speech of the day, came to be seen as one of the greatest and most influential statements of American national purpose. It was delivered on the site of one of the bloodiest battles in the Civil War. It's called the Gettysburg Address. And it's just 271 words, beginning with the now famous phrase, 70 years ago, He was just referring to something that had just been passed, the Declaration of Independence that had happened 87 years previously. He said that there are some things that were to be focused on, that this country was conceived in liberty, and it was dedicated to the position that all men are created equal. He extolled the sacrifices of all those who had died at Gettysburg. And he said, these dead should not have died, would not have died in vain. But he made a purpose in his heart that the government and the people, by the people, and for the people should not perish from the earth. That is what, just a little snippet of what he said, and he was able to rally people. I'm making the point here now because later on I'm going to show you how the Lord used Samuel to rally Israel, and that is our clarion call for today, the message that Samuel gave. But another person that came to the fore at a time when he was really needed is Dr. Martin Luther King, an American Baptist minister and an activist who was the most visible spokesman and leader of the civil rights movement from 1955 until he too was assassinated in 1968. There always comes a time when you need a voice. I mean, a serious voice. And if ever you need a voice in the church today, it is now. I don't mean a pastor who thinks he's a star boy. I don't mean a tyrant and a vagabond and a vagrant, because some of them could easily be qualified as they call that. You want somebody who has a meeting with God on a daily basis and receives instructions from God as to where to lead his people. Right in your house, you need such a person. And if a man is not there, if a husband is not there, if a father is not there, you ladies, you're going to have to rise up and do the job. Because look where our children are going right now. I mean, shooting down 10-year-olds. People carry to school guns and knives. And this is only a reflection of what is happening right in the home. When last did you do something spiritual and turn off the television? When last did you encourage the children to come back to church, come to know God? And if you do not do this before these children get to the university, you could say bye-bye. Because the devil is on a mission to redirect the thoughts of our children. And I understand a good place to do that is the university. People going to the university, like one young boy, some other really worked hard for him, and he went to the university as a Christian, but he came back as a non-Christian. His mother asked him about God. And he, in his arrogant state, said, Ma, there's no God. Ma is getting old now, you know. She doesn't know physics. She doesn't know economics. So he thinks he has the ascendancy over her. Ma, there ain't no God. Ma, you could see God. Ma, you could touch God. And he thought he'd won. Until 3 o'clock in the morning, he was up there bawling in pain. Ma, come. Ma, come. Ma, come. The pain. Man said you could see the pain. You could touch the pain. How you know you got pain? You see, this is what is happening today. And the young people are bullying you into silence, bullying you into submission. And the gospel that you once knew, you don't talk about it again. You have to go along with their stupid interpretation of the Bible. Moreover, the dog came and licked his sore, so the dog's name is moreover. That's what we're having today. Some people are saying that the earth is, they're flat earthers. The earth is flat. But Dr. Martin Luther King said things like, just let me read this. It is so good, I want to read it verbatim. I'm just trying to tell you that we need a voice today. He said 50 years ago, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree came as a great beacon of light to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. That's what he was fighting against. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. Just stay with me. You might think, well, I didn't go to high school, so I can't understand this. You could understand. Some of you who didn't go to high school are the best economists in the whole world. How you could feed, even today, how you could feed yourself and 5 children in that house working on a minimum wage of $340 per week, having had to pay bus fare and lunch of $70, and the little pittance that you're left with, and you're able to feed the children and repair the house and pay all the bills and all that, you have to be some kind of an economist. Don't let people make you think that because you didn't go to Harrison College that you're a dummy. Some of the biggest dummies went to Harrison College. Look at them. You work in the plantation, but you have a house today. They went to Harrison College, the Queen's College, still living at man. Man still giving them all the money. Man still spending her money. She's forgetting that her time is going to come when she's going to be in a bed. Somebody told me this week that they were going to send a young man to the nursing home, and it was $4,000 a month. So you waste your money on these boys that should be working when the Bible says, not me. I'm too polite to say that. If a man does not work, he should not eat. And you're feeding your son more often and better food than you're feeding his father, your husband, or your significant other. No wonder the world is like this. You need somebody who's bold and brazen, not arrogant and snotty and unmanly. I'm not talking about that at all. But somebody who's bold and is able to rally the forces. Let me cut through this in the interest of time and talk about it where he said, I had a dream. He said, I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. He said, I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my four little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. He said, I have a dream that one day, down in Alabama, with its vicious, racist, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, will one day, right down in Alabama, little black boys and little black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and little white girls and as sisters and brothers. He said, I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day, every valley shall be exalted and every mountain shall be made low. Rough places shall be made plain, and the crooked places shall be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is a man with a rallying call. If there was ever a time we need it today, it's today. Brethren, I know some of you don't read the newspapers. You don't go online to see what's happening. I was thinking that they have those who need insulin. If insulin does not come across the Caribbean Sea, because I understand it's coming from Costa Rica and those places now, if it doesn't come across the Atlantic Ocean, crap over and smoke your pipe. And that is not the only medication. You need medicine for almost every sickness you could think about. Brethren, let's come a little bit closer home and talk about somebody who stood up, a father. I call these fathers of the nation. I'm talking about the right excellent Earl Walton Barrow, the former Prime Minister of Barbados. Earl Walton Barrow is the father of independence and the first Prime Minister of Barbados, and he was born in January 1920. He was a Barbadian statesman and the first Prime Minister of Barbados. He was a founding member of the Democratic Labour Party, and Barrow swept the power in 1961 and held that position for 5 years. He took the island into independence. As Prime Minister, he led the country to accelerated industrial development and expanded the tourist industries. Among other things, he did like introducing Social Security, free secondary school and all that. Came at a time when we needed a voice, a voice. So we're not looking at the father today as one who just brings home the money. We're not looking at the father today who just, you invite him from down St. Lucie, you live in St. John, and you're inviting him up to discipline a boy that you can't discipline. He's out of order. You're not there. You can't discipline anybody. You haven't seen that boy for the last 2 years, and you're leaving St. Lucie to come to discipline him. You're very much out of order. You may not be a father. You might probably be a sperm donor. So Elbar said things like this: we will not regard any great power as necessarily right in a given dispute unless we are convinced of this. Yet at the same time, we will not view the great powers with perennial suspicion merely on account of their size, their wealth, or their nuclear potential. He said, we'll be friends of all and satellites of none. And he went on to speak a whole lot of stuff, which I don't have time to talk to you about. But the point I'm making now is that we need a voice. That is what's going to make the Antichrist so successful, because he's going to come on the scene at a time when you really need a voice. We need a voice in Barbados. Thank God we have a semblance of something working now. We need a voice in your house. We need a voice in the church. We need that authoritative voice, that fatherly figure. And I don't mean a father who spoils. I mean a father who calls a spade a spade. We could go on to talk about people like Nelson Mandela, who at his trial in April 1964, who declared to the judge that he was prepared to die. But my Lord, if needs be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die. He was advancing certain things, and he said, I'm prepared to die for that. We have a lot of people today who are just chicken-hearted. We could have quoted from Sir Winston Churchill, who in the war said, there'll be no retreat, there'll be blood, sweat, and tears. The sort of attitude that you have to have as a child of God. No retreat, blood, sweat, and tears. We can quote from Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who died not long ago, and he rallied the cause of the Africans. We could talk about Douglas MacArthur, who after he was defeated said, we'll be back. And he did go back. We could talk about Jesus Christ. We could talk about Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa didn't have a platform like all of those persons that I just mentioned. But oh, was she a woman of God with a voice. We need that voice today. In the absence of that, God is going to take us to 1 Samuel chapter 12 to show you, if we don't rise up, people think if they don't pay their tithes, the church is going to shut down. If they don't testify, something negative is going to happen. God always has somebody in place. And in the absence now of a spokesperson who has eyes and see. The Bible said that those who have eyes but they see not. They have the physical eyes, but they don't have the spiritual eyes. I hate to be talking to those persons, especially if they call themselves Christians. They can only see things through the lens of whatever is happening in the world today. They have eyes, but they see not. They don't see spiritually. They have ears, but they hear what the television says. They hear what the family says, but they don't hear spiritually. We need persons who will speak today, people who don't have a private agenda, people who are not swindling people and all that. We need a genuine voice like this. Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 12, verse 1. And I'm going to stay here, I suppose, for the balance of the next half an hour. Listen carefully. What am I saying so far? That in times of crisis, there were certain persons that were raised up either by God or by civil society. People put persons in place, but they had something to say. When Hannibal went to war, they tell me that when he was coming back home, that his soldiers were so tired, but they had to cross the Alps. Remember, you heard Hannibal cross the Alps? Hannibal crossed the Alps. And the soldiers having fought were so tired that they were likely to just fall up by the wayside. But it said Hannibal came ahead of them and looked at them and said, just beyond the mountain is home. That was just enough to motivate them. They had not seen their wives or children for years. And rather than faint on this side of the mountain, they just heard, beyond the mountain is home. Man, I tell you, we need a voice. I am so limited in my voice. You might be surprised to know. You say he's a good preacher. I'm a good reader. You will be surprised to know how many people don't listen to me. that should be listening to me. Even in the house where I live, nobody don't listen to me. I'm just a puppet. Oh, you're a pastor, you should say that. Why, I don't have to lie. It's almost like, there was a in church, the pastor said, all those who are men in their own house come to the right. All the others stay on the left. One man remained on the left. When they inquired of him, why you stay here? He said, my wife told me to stay here. That's the nature of home today. The Bible said it will happen. Nobody's listening. If you live in a house with a preacher, you go to hell. No, I nearly said you deserve it. Listen to the Lord using Samuel to rally the children of Israel. Are you with me? Follow me on the screen. 1 Samuel chapter 12, verse 1. And Samuel said unto Israel, behold, I have listened to your voice. You said you wanted a king. I'm giving you a king. God was the king of Israel. They looked over the fence and they saw other nations with kings and they decided they want one. Like you are spending money you don't have to buy things you don't need to impress people you don't like. Why not keep the money in the bank? You go and the things are expensive and some stupid person will tell you, well, you can't eat the money. And my response is, yes, I can't eat the money, but I can keep it in my pocket. I could wait till things get cheaper. I'm not going to die. I bought one yam last week and I'm still fuming over it right now. Last Thursday, I bought one yam. I will go in the kitchen and show you for $27.50. I was too ashamed to tell the fella, carry it back. A little yam, tell me it's $5.50 a pound and you have 5 pounds. Yes, that's what it is. But listen to this. You said you wanted a king, verse 1, verse 2. Look, here's your king. In church, you've got to be careful of what the people want. People want the easy way. People don't want to hear things that will help them, even in church. Don't talk to me about stealing things off the job, although the Bible said they shouldn't do that. Don't talk to me about adultery or fornication or things like that. Don't talk to me about that. I just don't want to hear you. They saw something happening and they wanted it. So listen, I want to read verse 2. And now, behold, your king that you asked for, he's here walking before you. I am old and gray-headed, and behold, my sons are with you. And listen to what I'm going to say. It is incumbent upon us as leaders. We as leaders mess up real bad. We do a lot of foolishness. I raise my hands. I'm in that category. We do so much nonsense sometimes, but thank God for experience and for growth. Can I hear amen this morning? I like what this man is going to say. He's going to introduce himself and show that he is qualified to speak to children of Israel. Listen to this. He said, I have walked before you from my childhood unto this day. Next verse. I walked before you from my childhood. Behold, here I am, witness before the Lord and before his anointed. Samuel is asking, whose ox have I taken? The answer is nobody's. Whose ass have I taken? Who have I defrauded? Whose hand have I received bribe? Who paid me bribe? In other words, here is a man with an impeccable character. You have people who want to live as they like and come to church to tell the Lord, give me a word for you. Get out of my face. You come to church to give beer trouble. You're as snotty as they can be. You're arrogant and walk 6 inches off the floor. You don't speak to anybody and then say you're a prophet. Nobody listening to you. You got to be like him. Whose ass have I taken? Whose ox have I taken? Who have I defrauded? Who have I oppressed? From whose hand did I receive bribes so that I could pervert justice? Tell me, and I will restore it. Verse 4, and they said, you have not defrauded us. I like the character of this man. I wish that I was always like that. And I wish from now until my end that this is how it would be. Spotless. That I'll be blameless. And don't forget, in the Bible, blameless doesn't mean that people wouldn't blame you. Blameless means that after all investigation and the dust is settled, that you're innocent. That's what blameless means, because somebody's going to blame you. Before the service is finished, somebody's going to blame me for talking about Earl Barbie. Call you a Barbie, it's a party person.
The simplicity of the gospel.